A number of things are going on in the world and on the political scene. We'll see if any of our folks join us and all along those lines. But Iran has launched a missile attack on Israel. So that is something that we're seeing as Iran launched over 100 ballistic missiles at Israel. And Trump just responded to the Middle East conflict saying, you wish that you hadn't. And all along those lines. And Keir Starmer over there in London said, we stand with Israel after the Iranian attack. So that is something that we're seeing as well, and that is definitely some important news going on in that sense. So, rescuers are scouring North Carolina mountains for survivors cut off by Hurricane Helene. And another political thing that I had seen in the news, and that's a very important political thing, was the fact that there is a major strike taking place. I think it's the dock workers, and it is dock workers, I want to say from Maine to Texas, and it is like about several thousand, maybe even tens of thousands of them that are involved in that particular walkout and that particular strike. So I know that Rick's over there, and Rick's going to join me. And maybe he's got some thoughts around that strike and around the political thing. We've got the big debate going on. But as I was looking at the news earlier, I'd seen that there was a major strike, Rick, with the dock workers. I guess the dock workers want higher wages, and better income. So they have had a major strike, and I heard it was lots of them that have walked out right here in the United States. So we've got
Yeah,
a
you
not
don't have to be a conspiracy nut to find the timing suspicious. The guy who runs the Teamsters, I believe, is a Trump supporter. So anything to make things look more chaotic with 34 days until the election.
34 more days to the election, and they say that I think the number I heard I did know was multiple thousands. That 40,000 dock workers are on strike, and they are threatening. They're shutting down the ports in the east, and definitely looking like a big hit to the U.S. economy. So the economy, as you said, pointed out several times, has been very much a positive attribute for the Democrats, but this could be something that could hurt
Right.
the
This strike is expected to cause uh, a couple $1 billion a day to the economy.
wow. That's a lot and everything. One of the things I was curious, and I meant to bring it up on the last show, but I'll bring it up now and everything, is we've got all these conflicts, whether it's Ukraine, whether it's Israel, and now I guess as they were celebrating their anniversary of being a communist nation, China is looking at the possibility of trying to reunite with Taiwan and everything. So I guess it is part of their campaign to get their own economy in shape. They're saying that they might look at taking over Taiwan again. I know the Taiwanese people are not glad to hear that, but I
Yeah,
just want
I don't think they'll do that. I think China is patient, but if there was ever a time in recent history to do it, with there was so much else going on in the world, it probably raises the odds that they would try something.
yeah,
But I'm no military analyst. I don't know.
yeah. I don't know either, but I was just curious about that.
But
And
one more thing is Israel didn't just wasn't just attacked by Iran. Israel also attacked Syria, knocked out three anti-aircraft radar stations.
oh wow, I did not know that. Apparently, and maybe Sasha will join us later, but apparently Russia is trying to throw some money at their problem because they're proposing a record defense spending as they try to get that victory in Ukraine. So they're to raise their defense budget by 25% to the highest level on record and everything. So it's like
They called up 180,000 troops last month, and they called up another 133,000 guys this month.
wow.
Or well, in the last couple days. So yeah, they're not stopping, and all we can hope is that they're spending what $1 billion a day, hoping that this really scuttles their future economy and their ability to be belligerent in the war once this in future that it removes their ability to do more stuff.
Yeah, well, part of this has been some people are saying, not everybody, but some people claim that the Ukraine Russia war is about border conflicts and that there are other things involved with it as well. But apparently, sometimes you can redraw borders without having a war, and sometimes it is interesting reasons that cause the border to be redrawn. Because another story that I just saw that came across, I guess it was yesterday, is that Italy and Switzerland are redrawing their alpine borders because of the melting glaciers. So I guess that the glaciers are causing
Yeah,
them.
it doesn't freaking matter. Nobody lives up there to speak of. Um, Pakistan and India have this border in the Kashmir that they've been fighting over since Pakistan became a nation. And, that most of that is, under, snow and ice and at like 9, 10, 12,000 feet and very inhospitable. But both of those countries have been fighting over it for decades, often using or at least occasionally having battles with rocks and sticks because they don't want to use guns for fear of escalating.
Oh, well.
Um,
Well, the other issue that's probably going to get brought up in the debate, and I don't know how you think the debate's going to go, is probably going to be the whole issue around abortion. And Lisa Robin broke down a judge's ruling on the Georgia abortion ban and called it almost a radical decision. And women are not community property, is what a Georgia judge ruled, and everything. And Georgia Republicans are rallying to defend the Heart bill.
so okay, I got a point about Roe, which the Supreme Court got rid of, and Republicans like Alliance like to say, Roe let people abort babies for any reason up through the ninth month and even after birth, which is garbage. But I was listening to somebody and I wondered why isn't there language prohibiting at will abortion in the third trimester? And somebody told me it's already in Roe. That language is in Roe. So I went back, I looked it up, and that's true. You can't get an abortion willy nilly just because you're bummed out that you're pregnant in the third trimester. It's right there in the language of the Supreme Court ruling of Roe from 52 years ago.
Well, and apparently Georgia's being real busy because they're also trying to have a judge that's signaling a need to clarify vague new election certification rules. So the Democrats are suing the Georgia Election Board over the new
Yeah,
ballot
because they keep
hand count
changing
rules.
rules. But we should hear from Sasha because here's Sasha, and what's Israel going to do with Iran lobbing 200 missiles at them?
Right.
First of all, we never discussed for several days what Israel done last week with Hezbollah. I don't understand why you're discussing some dating on social media. You're
Yeah, all right,
discussing
because we're
all
idiots.
kind of garbage, and you don't discuss what's really important. You don't discuss how that will affect election in the United States. What you're asking me, what Israel is going to do now? Israel will do now everything possible and impossible to make sure that children and grandchildren and grandchildren will tell what Israel did with these people. So there will be never any attempt from these people to even think of attacking Israel. It's time to finish. Bibi Netanyahu finished his speech in United Nations by the words, "Enough is enough." Do you think Hezbollah, the Hamas, wouldn't be completely destroyed in few days if it wouldn't be for hostages?
All
It's
right, but
only one
okay,
issue.
but now
Now it's no, okay. Now with Iran, it's very simple. They will destroy all the oil refineries, all the ports. Iran, it's a very old nation, 3,000 years old. They will come back to 3,000 years. That's where they will be.
Hey, Sasha, two things that you raised, and they are legitimate questions because definitely they destroyed a lot of the Hezbollah and Hamas leadership and all along those lines and everything. But there's a couple of things that I've heard people raise, and I don't know your thoughts, but there are some people that are concerned that Iran, and I know Jonathan Lockwood is a big fan of the Iron Dome, that they can actually crack through some of that Iron Dome with the amount of missiles that they have and
and they
everything.
already did. They already launched more missiles into
They
Israel.
launched 400 missiles. There was not even one single person who was killed by at least one out of 400. This is really nothing. They are launching, even if they will launch 1,000 missiles. And by the way, U.S. Fleet, they've destroyed a lot of missiles what Iran
All right,
unleashed.
but the deal is Iran is nearly 10 times the population of Israel,
Doesn't matter.
92, and
Doesn't
Iran
matter.
has possibly 3 times the number of troops as Israel.
Okay, the first Israeli-Arab war in 1948, Arabs had about 100 million people, and Israel had less than 1 million. And who won the war? The Israel did. And all the following wars, the Six Days Wars, the Yom Kippur War, all wars Israel won in spite of enormous advantage of Arabs. So same thing with Iran, and Iran is a country that see they never fight the war themselves. They're using their proxies, whether it's Hezbollah or Houthis and all others. So now there is an end. Hezbollah is a thing of the past. There will be never again Hezbollah. So now Iran has a choice. Oh, okay, so it happened. It happened. Okay, let's go on. Or, which is very risky proposition, to unleash barrage of missiles on Israel, which they did. And now we will see Israeli response. And that's going to be horrible day for Iran because their oil refineries, their ports will be all destroyed, and their economy will come to a halt. There will
Has
be no.
Israel ever
One second, Sasha,
destroyed?
are you concerned at all about the possibility of it being a wider war and everything? Because Syria is, I understand, has been an ally in the past of us and everything, meaning the United States, and there's been an attack even into Syria as well. So, is there some concern about us going into Syria and Egypt and some of the countries that are seen as our allies?
Mark, when last time Egypt was fighting Israel? Do you remember that?
It's been a long time ago. I'm just asking, are you concerned that they could be pulled into the war, just like they've already launched an attack on Syria?
What for? To be destroyed? You don't understand that Israel can destroy all the neighboring countries at the same time. All of them.
Um,
Right,
just just a real quick thing because there was a prior to the missile launch, there were 7 individuals shot from a terrorist attack in Tel Aviv. This
There
I
were two. There were two bandits. They were liquidated. They killed 4 Israelis. That's true.
No, they killed 7. So just to point out, it, without the U.S.'s help, Israel is stuck,
No,
and
no, no,
to claim
no. Israel is capable to
they
fight
just shot
all this.
the just Sasha. I mean, the reality of the situation is you Israel needed the U.S.'s help to shoot down the 180 missiles. 110 of them were ballistic missiles that were launched from Iran.
They didn't
And
need it.
Israel,
U.S. provided its help, but there
they
was
needed
no
it.
conditions to that help, and either Israel didn't even ask for that help. U.S. voluntarily provided the help. And
But
thank you.
let's be honest, they needed it. I mean, let's not
How
just
do you know
play
that?
semantic games.
What makes you think that Israel needed U.S. help, that Israel wouldn't thwart that attack by itself? What
Who
makes
built the dome?
Well, Israel invented
Thank you.
the
So again, let's just be honest and stop playing semantic games. So right now, the worry is the fact that how wide will this war go? Because now with the attack that Iran sent back, this is just a straight escalation on top of escalation. How big will it get? Because it's not going to be that Israel can take out everybody. Israel needs the US's help. How far will the US go in terms of in that help? Are there going to be boots on the ground? Now we're in a whole new world when the US boots go on the ground. So
General,
there's
let me
just a
ask you
lot
a
of stuff that I think that we have to worry about more so than just saying Israel's just going to take out everybody. No, I mean they're like
should
what's
do
going
it.
on in Gaza still is still happening. So
Because of hostages. If there would be no hostages, there would be no Gaza. They
how is
would be
this going to
killed,
help the
all of them.
hostages?
It's only hostages issues. That's the only
I
one
get that.
thing why
Sasha,
Hamas is still alive. You know
Sasha,
that.
we get the hostage situation, but how does this escalation help the hostages?
Escalation is not against Gaza. No. Escalation is against Hezbollah, and by now it's all done because there is no more Hezbollah.
If
By the way,
Iran,
let me ask you a question.
okay,
Hezbollah was bothering Israel for a year since September.
Hezbollah, they've been having wars for years. Yes, I get that.
For years, okay, there are some missiles, there are some
Mhm.
terrorist attack, and also. So as a result, almost 100,000 Israelis, they had to be relocated and leave their places where they used to live, go to school, go to work. They had to leave all this territory, go elsewhere, and it was going on for a long time.
I
Now,
get that. I
Israel
understand.
made a decision and implemented it brilliantly. Did US help Israel with Hezbollah? No, it didn't.
So
They were
Sasha,
talking about some
just
peaceful solutions. They were talking about all kind of garbage.
Sasha,
What Israel did, they didn't say anything. No, Netanyahu said something.
but again, how does that
He
help
said
the
enough
hostages?
is enough.
How
Forget
does
about
that?
hostages. Maybe there are no alive.
No,
There's no
Sasha,
evidence that even one man is alive. So
but
whatever they're
but
alive,
again,
they're not alive.
Sasha,
There's nothing that can
Sasha, Sasha, the problem is there was what the U.S. was in the midst of doing was trying to broker a deal of ceasefire to release the hostages.
And who refused
And
to
now
see?
with this
Who
happening,
refused it? And who refused to see?
Netanyahu did.
No, that's not true.
No,
Netanyahu
he
agreed
did.
3 times.
He
He
didn't.
agreed,
He didn't.
and the Hamas
No, he
refused
didn't.
it 1 time, second time, the third time.
No, he
Enough
didn't.
is enough. So
Even the
hostages, if
even
they're
the
alive, great.
even
If they're not alive, it's
even the Israeli
a
people,
different story.
even the Israeli people have pointed out that it was Netanyahu who turned down the ceasefire
No,
deals
it's not
that were
true.
on the that were on the
That's
table.
absolutely
And
not true.
again, look, I'm just trying to point out that this rah 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 doesn't need to be.
Okay.
This is
So
just there's a
that,
problem,
remember,
and you're going rah rah
I
rah.
should tell you.
What
In
is the
that,
solution? If
okay,
your solution is that hey, we must kill all these individuals, that's not a solution. That's creating more
here's
domestic
a very simple
terrorism and
solution.
actually
In
creating
that
another
part
problem.
of the
So
war,
what's the end game?
okay, here's the end game. In that part of the world, they respect only power. They don't need anything else. Demonstration of power. And the more forceful it is, the better. So now Israel, because in Hezbollah there are no hostages involved, so they could unleash absolutely incredible attack. And they were preparing that attack for a long time. So finally that was a place, it was a time, the attack
So
happened. United States didn't help.
so
United
you're
States
saying,
couldn't even prevent Israel. Oh, they could say, oh, Israel, don't
Sasha,
attack Hezbollah. We will punish you. We will not send you this.
Sasha,
They
are you
did.
saying that because Israel put out that attack, everything is done now? Nobody's going to
No,
retaliate.
no. They have to go to Beirut. They have to take the capital of
So
Beirut.
now you're saying that Israel should do like they did years past and occupy a part of Lebanon.
They don't need occupation.
So now
They
again,
have to go in and destroy whatever is left from Hezbollah.
that creates more
Once it's
domestic
done,
terrorism.
they're
How
going
can
to
you?
move out.
The problem is again, what is the end game?
The
If
end
you're going
game
to kill all
is
these
to
individuals,
the
you're
end
talking
game
about
for
creating more
Israel
domestic
is to
terrorism.
protect its people, to protect its
Going
citizens.
into
And
Lebanon,
there is a
going,
Hezbollah who every day shoots the missiles and so on.
I get
Then
that.
Israel is not doing its job.
But when did Israel? Why did he turn down a deal?
He did not.
He
He
did.
did not.
He
It
did.
was Hamas who turned down 3 times, and that's the end of story. There will be no more
No,
peaceful proposals. That will be. They will finish with Hezbollah. They will finish this with
you,
Iran if it comes to that, and then they will
again,
finish Hamas.
Hold
I,
on a
I,
second.
I want to ask
Hold on
a
a second, Jacoby.
question. I want to ask a question pertaining to this because there's a lot of media input that said that Israel did turn down the ceasefire plea. So, Sasha, if you're saying they didn't, what where are we missing the information that the media might be misleading us? Is there information somewhere that we're not getting that media is misleading us? Because
Uh,
we've been told, media tells us a lot of things and it's been misleading. So maybe you've got information that we haven't. I mean, there's plenty out there, and people make up, like the media. So is there some information that can help us understand that Netanyahu did not turn down the ceasefire? I would
uh,
like to
You
see
see,
it.
Kim, there is so much proliferation of media, the social
Right.
media. There are so many sources, and sometimes they're saying absolutely contradictive things one by another. And it's very important which sources are you using for your information? What are you following? And there must be some trusted sources of information that you're following. So you follow them, and if they will tell you that Hamas wants peace, and Netanyahu is one who derailing it, and so on. So, if that's the source that you trust, that would be your opinion. There are some other sources that are saying that it's already 3 times that Hamas is turning down any peaceful offers approved by U.S. or United Nations or Israel. It doesn't matter. They just see they're not interested in peace, because peace will, all the hostages would be released. Because right now Hamas surviving only for one factor: there are hostages.
I
If there
want to
would be
talk
no
about
hostages,
you always have to talk about the geography. Beirut is, as the crow flies, only 50 miles from the Israeli border. So getting to Beirut would be well, it wouldn't be trivial, but it wouldn't be a major offensive.
Hey, just really quickly, Shaka.
Well, I mean,
you don't
wait,
understand
wait, wait,
why
hold on.
why Israel
To
needs
say,
to go into Beirut.
well,
I'm just
Many
saying
years
it's highly
ago,
doable.
many
no,
years
no,
ago,
but think
Beirut
about
was
this.
very peaceful country,
No,
which had
hold on,
great relationships with Israel. And
hold
it's
on.
only when Hezbollah
Again,
entrenched there,
we,
the situation completely. Excuse me, Chitovi, I'm
but
talking. Am I? I'm talking. I am talking. Thank you, Chitovi. I'll finish, you'll start. So Israel wants to have the same friendly country, Lebanon, which it would have a peace, but requirement for that would be to get rid of Hezbollah. Lebanon by itself cannot do it, because they have command positions in economy, in government powers, and everything else. So Hezbollah, it's like oncology. That body has to be completely taken out of Lebanon, and if not, then destroyed. That probably destroy will be probably the next part of it. So once Hezbollah is no longer there, don't forget that Lebanon was Christian country. Even today, the majority of population in Lebanon are Christians, and Israel has nothing to do against Christians, against Lebanon people, and they already announced that many times. But they have to eradicate the Hezbollah out of there, and there will be normal, peaceful relationship between Lebanon and Israel.
so again, Sasha, you
I'm
didn't get.
curious, are there enough missiles in every country that they could just hit the button on all of them and blow each other up?
So
I just want to know. I mean, can that happen? I
No,
mean, can these men, they get missile happy, these men, right? Oh, I got a missile, I can shoot it. I
Kim,
mean,
but
are
let's see.
there enough missiles in both countries that they could
Okay,
just blow each other up?
but tell me
I
one
just
thing.
want to point out real
So
quick,
Iran,
Sasha,
Iran threw at Israel 400 missiles. No one was killed. So if they
Right.
will, what makes you think that they will unleash, say, 2,000 missiles or 10,000 missiles?
That's
What
what
will
I'm
be the
asking.
so
Why
just
do they stop at 12? Why do they stop at 24? Why
so
are we playing a missile game? I mean, it's just
it
stupid to me. It's
Well,
so
they're trying.
so
Maybe they
just to
run out of
point out,
missiles at the end of the game.
just to point out, there comes a time when when the Iron Dome can be overwhelmed. Hence the reason why they use ballistic missiles. That creates a problem with the Iron Dome. So that can happen where they shoot off a particular amount where some missiles actually get through. That's a problem. You also forget the Iron Dome is at the top and not actually on ground level. So therefore, that terrorist that took out 7 people earlier before the actual shoot missiles went off, that can be another problem. What we're thinking about is this simplistic idea that shooting missiles back and forth is the only thing that takes place in these situations. That's not it. And then also, Sasha, just to point out, you never said a source. You just said all this generic stuff about, hey, there's stuff that you like, there's stuff that you don't like. What we were asking for is a source that proves that Netanyahu wasn't the one that actually declined.
I'll find it.
So if you could help with that, that would be great.
I
But
will
the
I
thing
mean,
is,
so
it
I
gets
want
back
to
to-
add that
it gets back- I just wanted to get back to two quick things. It gets back to the end game because there's also a problem when you say that it's not really that much of a thing to do to go over to Beirut. Well, that's still going into a sovereign nation. That's like saying Russia should be okay to go to Kyiv. That's a problem because you have that sovereign nation and that sovereignty. And then you take into the history. What was the does anybody remember the southern Lebanon conflict in 1978? Anybody remember that? What was that? That was the first Israeli invasion, and that was a problem. So when we're thinking about these things, we're forgetting about the history and talking about all this rah-rah stuff. No, there's more to this than just the simplistic idea that, hey, we're going to just, Israel just can take anybody out. No, there's more to it.
they've
More
been at
people
war
are
for
desperate
thousands
to
and
die because
thousands
of
of
this.
years.
Question to you: how you connect the attacks by rockets or by missiles with the 7 Israelis who were killed in terrorist attack? What is the connection there?
It was deemed a terrorist attack, correct? Yes. So
Most
if it's
likely.
deemed a
So
terrorist attack, it depends on where.
attackers.
It
Hold
depends
on.
on where.
If you wanna talk about that, I will help you. The 2 attackers were killed by Israeli citizens. There was no police. There was no Israeli army. The Israeli citizens killed and destroyed these 2 attackers. I heard about 4 people being killed, but if you say 7, maybe you have latest information. I'm not sure. 4? Yes, I know about that. But there
At
is no
least 6
connection
people.
between this and Iran attack. But even if there is connection, why would you care about that? Watch Israeli response
Now,
the next
now,
day.
Sasha,
Just watch.
Sasha, you and Nick play chess. You avidly play chess and love chess.
Okay.
Now, if you're saying that the only move that you can do on the chessboard is to move your rook,
You try to
are you
do
going to
the
win?
best move.
Is that
You try
just
to do
moving
the
your
best
rook? That's all you're going to do on the
Not
chessboard. You're just going to move your
necessarily.
rook. You're not
Is
going to
a
move
rook-
any other player, any other pieces, just your rook.
It
You're gonna
depends on
lose
the
game.
situation.
So
If
if
the
you're
rook
under the
move is the
assumption
best,
that, hey,
then
look,
you move the rook.
our
But
only,
if you
our
know
only
you
thing,
know better move, you move
Sasha,
better.
you told me to listen. I'm telling you to listen. If you're telling me that in this situation, the idea is their only move, we're just going to shoot missiles and be done with it. That's not their only move. That's not the only thing. That's not the way modern war is fought. And we're right now 2 steps away from that if this continues to escalate. And if you think that only thing they're going to do is, hey, we're going to shoot missiles and the Iron Dome is going to protect us, that doesn't happen.
Jatovi, you know who is really scared of escalation? There is one only country and a party in that country. It's Joe Biden and his administration.
Yes.
They are
Why
the
would you
only
want?
ones. They want to win election. They don't want to
No,
upset their
no.
Muslim friends or so on. But you
No.
know what?
I
I
disagree
don't
with that.
care about
I
Biden and
disagree
his
with that.
administration.
Sasha,
Israel will do what Israel
Sasha,
needs to do. That's all.
Sasha, did you
Hold on a
want
second. Hold on a
Canada
second,
to
Sylvie.
go to
Hold on,
war
because I got a quick
on
question
behalf
for
of
you.
Israel?
Just one quick question for you. Do you see, Sasha, because you've gone off of this discussion a while about Israel and what Israel has done right and everything, is there a peaceful solution between, because you mentioned Israel and the Muslim community and everything like that? I mean, Israel and the Christian community. Is there a peaceful solution that is even possible in your mind between Israel and the various Muslim countries? I don't know.
Mark, there is already peaceful coexistence between Israel and most of the Arab countries, including United Arab Emirates and Egypt and Jordan, and just name it. There is only one country, Iran, which through proxies is trying to attack Israel, and Hamas, which is also supported by Iran, by the way, and the Houthis and all that. That's garbage that would be destroyed in an hour and a half. So in this case, what you're talking about, the there was recently, about 2 weeks ago, there was a meeting of Arab countries, Muslim countries probably, 56 countries, that they were discussing the Palestinian issue. So the idea was to take some Palestinians to their countries. Well, 45 countries politely said that they decline and they will not take, and 11 countries in not so polite manner say absolutely not. That's how much Muslim countries and Arab countries in particular care about Palestinians. Palestinians, it's a garbage that was invented in the 70s by KGB.
Incorrect.
There was
Incorrect
no
on that.
such thing as Palestinian.
That's an incorrect statement. That's actually
Correct,
also
I
very
stand by my
that's,
statement.
that's incorrect and also very bigoted, because think about it. Israel didn't exist until the 1940s, was it? So just to leave that off the table. Now, what we're talking about here is what's going on. You have stuff happening at the north. You have stuff happening at the south. You have stuff happening on this side. Are you meaning to tell me that they're just going to shoot missiles from all those when you're trapped somebody in there? That's not the way the game is played, Sasha. And then when you're talking about, hey, the only people that are scared are Joe Biden, and because no, there is a legitimate problem, because then you're talking about a whole lot of geopolitical games that are going to come into play, because you're looking at Russia. Are you willing to give up Ukraine to protect Israel? Is that where your play is now? Because that's going to come. Now you got Taiwan in the mix, because China's going to come into play, and China can take over Taiwan. Are you willing to give up Taiwan just to protect Israel? So you're willing to give up all this stuff. You're not thinking outside of you're not even looking at it like a chessboard. This, if you want to look at it like a chessboard, do that, and you can see the broader picture. There's a bigger problem here than just saying, hey, they can go and take on these things. No,
the problem in the world today is only one. It's United States of America, with a budget of almost $1 trillion. They completely gave up their command position in the world, economy, military, everything. US has it, and it's not used because of people like Biden, the people who are saying, oh, we are with Ukraine for the rest of the whatever it takes. And in the meantime, he doesn't send whatever he promised to send. And he holds on to whatever he even approved by Congress. In April, $61 billion were approved. Ukraine got only $2 billion.
That was the Republican Party that's sitting in Congress that you're talking about right now. That wasn't Joe Biden. Joe Biden pushed for the actual.
In April it was approved.
But in terms of Ukraine support, again, Sasha, you had just admittedly made a lie there. You're blaming everything on Biden when it does take Congress to actually approve all this financing that you're talking about.
And once it was approved,
it was Biden who pushed
Democrats and Republicans. And what Biden did next to it, he has frozen all the help out of $61 billion. He sent only $2. So Biden is
no, he didn't. We already talked about this
Ukraine.
Before this started. You even admitted to saying the same thing that I'm saying now. So what's going on is your emotions have taken over this situation rather than you looking clearly at what's going on. Had you seen this just like the way you've seen other spots, you would agree that there is a bigger problem. A bigger problem in play.
Please educate me. What's the bigger problem?
We just talked about it. If you, for example, if this continues to escalate and we have hard and true said that we're supporting Israel no matter what. We're determined to protect Israel. So now Iran comes in and this continues to escalate. Who's going to have to back Israel then? Now you're talking about the U.S. stepping in. Now you're going to look at possibly putting troops on the ground to protect the Israelis on the inside of Israel, because Hezbollah, Hamas is still there. Other domestic terrorists are still there. Other, you still have the groups out of Iran and all the other areas there. It's a hostile area, and it sucks to say that, but it is a hostile area. And if you're looking for this widespread protection that you're going to want the U.S. to step in, now you're going to have now we're going to have a counter response, because what happens when Russia comes into play? Because Russia and Iran are tied together, correct? Aren't they in that BRIC situation? So now you got Russia and China starting to come into play. Now, with China seeing an opening, are they going to take over Taiwan? At what point do we start taking over and protecting Taiwan? How do we divert? Hold on, Sasha. You asked me for the bigger picture.
Okay. How much more time do we need?
Sasha,
How much time do you need? No, you're talking non-stop for 25 minutes. How much time do you need to talk?
As much time as I need.
Okay,
so sit back, relax.
Thank you.
So again, looking at the bigger picture, you've got all these situations that are going to come into play.
I will leave in 2 minutes exactly. 2 minutes,
you decided 2 minutes. I didn't make up some arbitrary number because
I'm telling you what I'm going to do. I don't ask what you're going to do.
So again, let me start putting a timer on you and tell you to shut up. So just sit back and listen. Why can't I express my piece?
Yeah, just really quick, I think everybody's made their points.
But just wanted to get this one last piece out there, Mark. There is such a bigger picture that this could grow into a bigger issue, and that bigger issue draws in more countries. The more countries we draw in, then yes, we are looking at that broader scale war to protect Israel, and so that begins a problem. We need to look at an end game and figure out a de-escalation way. We're forgetting about the hostages in this situation, because this is not helping the hostages. This is not freeing people or setting up people for peace. This sets up the same old routine that we've had in that Middle Eastern area for so many years. If we're trying to broaden and think of other ways, let's try and look towards that end game, that peace situation, that two-state solution, that way to barter off or peacefully set up Iran for what they have to do to stop coming after Israel. Same way with Hezbollah, and same way with Hamas and other domestic terrorist organizations
30 seconds
in their area. Thanks for counting down. I'm glad you can count. So the thing is,
no, I counted for myself, not for you. You can talk for
so I got 30 extra seconds. So again, with your idea of
15 seconds,
count down. How many can you put up a 1 and a 5? So if you're going to think about the end game, think about the end game, and not
4, 3,
talking about
2,
all this
1.
extra stuff. Bye-bye. All this extra stuff. And when you get so emotional, you can't think, and you're just up and running.
Well, I'm there's just these wars have been going on for so long, and my question is, why do they play the missile games? It's kind of like, oh, I'm going to shoot these off. We're going to send terrorists in here. It's just back and forth and back and forth. It's a lot of innocent lives.
No, a lot of innocent lives, and part of it is what Sasha just alluded to and everything, but he didn't allude to it the way that I think he was trying to allude to it. But you kind of pointed it out, which is this whole idea of the definitions. Because if you heard him say, and if I heard him correctly, he's of the opinion that the Palestinian people are a new entity and a new identity when they have been there for a long time and everything. But he's of the opinion that he stated that actually on this show that they are a new identity. And I'm not saying that there can't be changes in what was old Palestine, just like Iran used to be way back in the day, Persia and everything. So there might be it might have had a different name, but there was Palestinian identity there was even before the actual Palestine that exists now and everything. So I think that we get caught up in these semantic wars and all along those lines.
I completely agree.
And I've got to wonder if all of the Hamas attack from last year, and I mean, if you think about it, here we are in October, and when all of this started to brew, but I have to wonder if Iran is the instigator in all of this to begin with, right?
No, I think
Hamas, but I think Iran has been the true stinker in the whole thing, and I just think that they're there are reports of Netanyahu turning down the ceasefire, and there are reports of Hamas turning down the ceasefire. There are reports that they both accepted it. So I don't know who to believe out there. I really don't. It would be nice if they recorded it, right? Why can't we just record it on, you know what? Everybody's got a StreamYard or a GoToMeeting or a Zoom. Why can't they get on Zoom, right?
They would claim it's a security issue and everything, but I agree that if they
Security issue. We're shooting damn missiles at each other, and they're complaining about security issue on Zoom.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, but that's what they would claim. That's why they can't release the information.
Can we say vasectomies? Can we say vasectomies? We need to stop. I don't know if you guys saw me post that, but it's a lot more legal to have a vasectomy to prevent abortions.
Do what?
It's legal. It's a lot more legal to suggest a vasectomy because abortions aren't legal.
Right. Yeah.
You want to prevent abortions.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of legal stuff going on. Getting back to some of the campaign.
No, I was going to bring up a campaign thing because I was going to actually pivot away from what we talked about with Israel and everything, because there is a mystery, and it actually plays back to what we like to talk about.
Okay.
To talk about it and everything, but there was a 60,000-pound new Trump statue that vanished from Vegas roads overnight. So first of all, I don't know why anybody made a statue of Trump in the first place, but apparently it was called deplorable, and we know that deplorable was a very much term that folks used to use in a certain political campaign and everything. And now the MAGA is claiming political violence over the giant new Trump statue that is now disappeared and everything. So I don't know what y'all thoughts are, but apparently there was a giant, they like to do things in grandiose ways there in Vegas, and of course they got those neon lights and everything else, but apparently somebody decided to make this giant statue that has now disappeared. So
that's pretty funny. But hey, I like the giant blow up Trump baby.
What is going on with pickup trucks lately? I've had two people I know on my Facebook thread. I've known for years. One's actually a family member, and apparently they both live in like two way different places, and they both had their pickups stolen.
Yeah, well, pickups are very popular and everything. The other two.
Is it harvest season? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, it's about harvest season now, and it's also about time. And I don't know, because actually I've got a couple of friends that are going to play, I think next month or the month after, but it's also fair season in a lot of places. And there is not quite a political story, but I guess in a sense it is political because it is now dealing with trafficking. But as I was going to mention on our news show earlier this morning, there was a very popular sheep, and you're going to know this sheep and everything, called Daisy and everything. But there is now a new one that has given a man a 6-month term in prison for a scheme to create a giant sheep hybrid in Montana. So he's been sentenced for federal wildlife trafficking charges as part of a year-long effort to create a giant hybrid sheep for captive hunting. I never thought of sheep as being big hunting animals and everything, but I'm going and the man was 81. Why are you going to sentence a man to 6 months for trying to create a sheep because he wants to create it in his personal lab?
He was okay. We alter DNA all the time. We alter many things all the time in human beings. And he's being arrested for altering.
He's been arrested and convicted.
Because they make sheep tiny too, right? Like they make goats intentionally small so that they can go into places and eat the grass. So I'm just have we gone insane? Like,
everybody wants the little pygmy goat.
So nobody wants the big sheep, right?
Just enough to make a
Frankenstein of sheep. This is really Halloween, right? Frankenstein of sheep just got arrested. It's kind of sick. I was just watching Cake Wars. The doctor's office, but you've got to think what are we doing in this country that our priorities are set to do something like that? Like you said, the man's 80 years old, big damn God. You know what? if he's doing something that works like that, maybe they should put him in a lab and let him, you know what I mean, engineer and design things. Like maybe send that sheep over to Israel and Iran. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, that could be an idea, but really quickly, because I know we got about another 15 minutes to go and everything. What are our thoughts on the debate that's going to take place in about a couple of hours, and who's going to win this debate? I'm actually thinking it's going to be closer than people think. I don't think it's going to be as much of a blowout as the Trump Harris debate was and everything, but I do think that Walz will win. But I'm just wondering y'all take on the debate and what we can expect in this debate, and are we going to see some crazy things? Because apparently Vance is now promising that he's going to cover people with pre-existing conditions and some other things that are out there as well. So, what are our thoughts around this?
Well, I would like to think that they'll both behave appropriately. I know that there have been some banter pre-game debate, but I think that maybe this can be a session where JD's wife doesn't have to run behind him and explain what he really meant. I get tired of that. Well, that's not what Trump meant. Well, that's what he said. Well, that's not what JD meant. That's, why can't we get leaders that are campaigning that actually, you can believe, and that don't need somebody running behind them saying that's not what they meant. So I'm good at, they say no fact checking, but is somebody going to be sit there going, that's not what he really meant?
Well, I think the media will do some fact checking. They just won't do it on the spot, because the last debate it was on the spot and everything. And I'm sure, like I said earlier, that abortion will come up, including.
It's easy with Trump. Every word is a lie.
Well, I'm sure abortion is going to come up, and apparently California, which I know Jacoby and Rick, who was here earlier, have ties to and everything, but they just sued the Catholic hospital for denying a woman an emergency abortion. So we're going to see if that gets mentioned in the debate and whether this is something that should be happening, because they're like, hey, wait a minute, if you're going to have an emergency abortion, you should have access. So they just sued the hospital.
Well, I don't think you should go to a Catholic hospital if you want to have an abortion, first off, unless if there was no way for you to get anywhere else faster. I mean, I remember when my husband had his heart attack and I had 9 EMTs in my kitchen, all using their phone, looking for the first available hospital because it was COVID, and all the hospitals and ERs were full. And so, I get it, but honestly, to take somebody to a Catholic hospital for that's just kind of questionable. But I think any doctor should do anything necessary. Did they not do the abortion? Did they? I don't know the story.
Let me see if I can get to that story.
Did the woman die? Did the woman die?
Oath and everything. But it says that I'm going to the New York Times, and I'll tell you exactly what the story said and all along those lines. But it did say that they denied the entry and all along those lines. But I'm here to find the more details. But to tell you, while I'm looking that up, you've got families that are in the medical field and everything. But I thought that was part of the oath that they took, isn't it? Like the Hippocratic Oath or something like that, that they're supposed to do everything possible to keep the folks as much living as they can until they sign off on those DNR, do not recitate kind of things and everything. But I thought that was part of the basic strategy of hospital ethics.
I guess. I mean, I don't know the full specifics at the end of life care part.
Right.
You might be correct on that.
And to answer your question, it says Anna Nussluck never expected to be denied an emergency hospital by emergency abortion by a hospital in California state with some of the strongest abortion rights protections. She was a chiropractor in Eureka, California. She went to the nearest emergency room at Providence St. Joseph's Hospital after her water broke just 15 weeks into the pregnancy. Doctors said one of the twins she was carrying would not survive and the other had almost no chance. According to medical records, they said that if the pregnancy was not terminated, she could face infection, hemorrhaging, and threats to her future fertility. But because fetal heart tones could still be detected, a doctor at the Catholic affiliated hospital said the institution's policy prohibited providing abortion unless Dr. Nussluck's life was at risk. According to her medical records, after several hours, Her husband drove her to the next closest hospital, where she arrived hemorrhaging and passing a blood clot the size of an apple. She expelled one fetus and was rushed into the operating room so the other fetus could be removed. Records show. I thought I would be safe here from things like this, Dr. Naslik said in an interview, from people taking away choices from me and leaving me in danger. So it does look like she survived, to answer your question and everything. But similar situations have occurred in states with abortion bans. But the California Attorney General, Rob Bonta, said in an interview that Dr. Naslik's case shows that they can happen even in California, a place that is very strongly pro-choice. So on Monday, the Attorney General filed suit against the company that operates Providence St. Joseph, charging that the hospital violated a California law requiring hospitals with emergency rooms to provide care to prevent not only death but serious injury or illness.
Right. And I don't condone the Catholic Church for doing what they just did, but also there are two more federal lawsuits being filed in the state of Texas. Two women are filing because hospitals denied them an ectopic emergency surgery and abortion. So there are two more being filed at this time as well. So I think you're going to see a rise in that these are women who are not intentionally aborting their babies, but need the medical care they need. And hospitals and doctors are in fear of the laws in places like the red states, like Texas, where they're required by law to report every woman who's pregnant to the sheriff's office, which I think is ridiculous. But you can go down the checklist, but it's inhumane to treat women this way. What does anyone know what it feels like to go into labor? Or what about ectopic poisoning labor? I mean, your blood's poisoning. I mean, does anyone know what it feels like to go through that? I mean, I kind of do, because I went through ischemic colon colitis attack where all my organs shut down. So I kind of know a little bit about what that pain feels like. But does anyone know how painful that is for those women?
It's very painful for women, and not
But
to
but
what
Kim,
you go through, but
Kim,
like
you gotta realize it's men. Men are supposed to know everything. That's why we make the law. Yeah,
I know. I'm sorry to Toby.
yeah, but that's very much of a true statement with
I'm
that
sorry.
that we know it all along those lines.
I just don't understand. You got a woman who's in extreme pain, extreme fear, could die, and you're going to let her die over a law that says that you can't abort a dead baby. I'm sorry, I have a problem with that. Even
Yeah.
if you can still hear a fetal heart, it doesn't mean the baby's alive. I'm sorry, it just doesn't. They could be their brain dead, right? They don't really have a brain right now.
And there's no telling what can happen in surgeries in general. As a matter of fact, I was just talking before starting this show with my upstairs neighbor, who I sometimes see him in his truck as he's coming by, and he's retired and everything. But he was just telling me he had just come back from surgery because he had surgery, I think, on his spine, which we know is a very sensitive thing to have surgery on in the first place. And while he was having surgery, he got infected. So they were trying to clean out and are still cleaning out the infection that he got from, I'm assuming, the surgery and all along those lines. Because I'm going like, whoa, could be a malpractice case on his case and everything, depending on what happens to him and all along those lines.
Think about, there's so many malpractice suits out there. To me, if a doctor is trying to save you and doing the best they can to save you and help you, and they're not, high or drunk and while they're operating on you, or, some of them are probably overexhausted, with the long surgeries, but for the most part, I just think we kind of there's some things, unfortunately, that to intentionally deny somebody help is, to me, killing that person. That to me is attempted murder. And quite honestly, I'm going to wish upon all of these lawmakers that they all have to feel that cramping pain that women go through when they start to lose a baby. I pray that they all feel that at once in their life. All at the same time would be okay with me. And I don't wish pain on anyone, but they apparently do on women. I have issues with government that bans books women rights to make the right choices for their own bodies. And when you continue all of these banning and banning, that sounds very communistic to me. The Republicans have really turned extreme supremacist to me. I mean, maybe not all of them. There were probably a few conservative that just want to conserve their wealth, but for the that's where conservative came from. You know that, right? You do understand the word conservative.
Mhm.
It came from the term that they wanted to conserve their wealth. That's why they vote conservatively. So, but at the end of the day, I think we need to start thinking of the rights of the people. I mean, what disturbed me the most recently is you have this tragedy going on in North Carolina, and people are using it to campaign on instead of going, "Hey, I'm going to go donate and volunteer some time. Anybody want to join me, or anyone want to send some rations with me? I'm heading up." To help. Instead, they're talking about who's doing what and not doing what. I mean, that's just pathetic. And
Yeah.
I lost some friends over that because I pointed it out to them. I'm like, it's pretty sad that people are using a tragedy to campaign their platform on instead of going, hey, I'm heading on up. And instead of the people uniting and joining together to
But
fix the
Kim,
problem.
because I only got another 4 minutes or 3 minutes ago, but not just
Yep.
using the campaign, and not just using the tragedy for a campaign, but I believe it was in Georgia, and correct me if I'm wrong, just tell me, didn't Trump literally build a set in order to campaign and everything? Because I think that what I heard was that the building had been destroyed, and he literally used that destroyed building in order to create a set in order for him to stand on, and all along those lines. At least that's the report I had heard. Did you hear something similar, that he had basically created his own set out of a destroyed building that was hit by that storm? And I thought that was when it hit Georgia, but it could have been North Carolina.
Well, it's appalling that he's using that as a campaign thing. People, I mean, the amount of resources that it takes. I don't know if he built a set or whatever. People are already putting out AI images of him walking through waters. Trump would never walk through water.
I mean,
And he is literally using.
are you sure they're not showing him walking on water?
They
I think
they
you
have
might have
those.
misrepresented that. Ooh, you're gonna be in trouble.
They have those, but it's just
He's
wild
walking.
to me that he is literally using a freaking the people in pain, struggling to just make it. He's going down there, people in dire straits, saying, "Hey, I got some food. Vote for me, dude."
Oh no,
That's not the thing right now.
he's
That's
not
not
even kind of, here's some food. This is what he said. Upon landing, he falsely claimed, hey, Biden had been sleeping and was not answering calls from Georgia. Brian Kemp, the White House and Kemp's office both said Biden and the governor had been in contact. So, he's going down there going, hey, Biden's sleeping, so I'm here. I mean, every word out of his mouth is like vomit,
He's
Yep.
telling another lie and everything, but not only that, but he is also having, as they talk about,
Actor.
folks having their minions with him and everything. But having, I think, at a couple of the events, he has brought, and not to knock people in that are in the evangelical family, but I think he's brought Franklin Graham with him to a couple of these events in order to try to like get that community pumped up, meaning the evangelical community, and to pray for him to win and everything. No, not just pray for the situation, meaning the folks that are there in those dire straits, like Jacoby just said. I think one of the prayers was actually for Trump to have a victory. So I'm going like, this is not the time to be doing that.
Geez, that is worse than going to church on Sunday in a Catholic church and the priest praying for his football NFL team to win. I used to hate that. Excuse me, but we got people dying here, and you're praying for your NFL team to win. I mean,
For your NFL team to win, and on that note, we'll get ready to get out of here. But not only
we
that,
gotta go.
I've literally seen people that would also end their service because they wanted to get home in time for the football game. So I also see some folks that do that. It's like, oops, time to end the service. I got to get to home so I can watch the game.
Have the potluck without me. And having said that, folks, have a good week, and we'll see you next. World Politics.
you'll see what I was talking about when I had the end stream, because I did